Chase bank glitch? No, that's called fraud.
JP does not play with their money.
You know, I was just at Chase 2 days ago to deposit some money, legally.
You went to the bank and took $50,000 that didn't belong to you. That's not a life hack, that's called robbery.
You don't understand how banks and checks work enough to know that if you try to take money that you don't have, they're gonna take it back.
No one is safe. You're done. You are now on a list.
Let me make it clear.
You're going to jail. Prison, actually.
Nothing is better in the entire world than free things.
$19 Fortnite card. Who wants it?
And one way you can get free things is by exploits. You know how many video games there are right now where there's like, a duplication glitch, an infinite money glitch? Well, it seems that these duplication glitches have actually carried over into the real world. Yes, this isn't a bit. This sounds like an ad for like some GTA 5 scam server or something that's going to steal your IP. But right now, in America, there is actually an infinite money glitch going around. Now, this story was hilarious to look into. Usually, when you hear someone say free money, you assume they're just going to let you in on like a drop shipping scam or something degenerate like that. And there is a lot of them, by the way. Don't worry. And there's actually a huge TikTok account at the minute that's doing one of those that I'm going to talk about, probably later on in the week or something. But anyway, I thought I've been doing YouTube 7 years. I've been doing it for quite a long time. So I thought I'd give back to the community, right? You guys have helped me, get a new house, employ my family. You guys have done a lot for me. So I thought I'd be able to give something back and tell you how to get infinite money right now for free.
Free?
So with this exploit, you can withdraw and spend infinite amounts of money with absolutely no consequences whatsoever. Now, if any of you are living in America, which my audience demographic shows is most of the people that watch this channel, you might know of Chase Bank. So at the minute, I don't know how they've done this. There has been a really bad glitch in the software going around at the Chase Bank servers. So whenever people withdraw money, their account doesn't actually go down. Therefore, people are turning it into like Scrooge McDuck and withdrawing as much money as possible before the glitch fixes itself. And this glitch is actually so bad, it is letting people withdraw money that they straight up don't have. I'm not even talking about like you reach a limit. Let's say someone has like $500 in their account, right? They can easily withdraw thousands of dollars, even though they would be going into overdraft. And this has actually gotten so bad that people seem to have been trying to make themselves millionaires overnight. A good example is someone here that had $100 in their account, and then the next day they had $80,000 because they kept withdrawing money and depositing it, which they didn't have in their account. There's another example someone has here of, again, $100 they withdrew, and then the next day over $500,000, $655,000. And this has led to hundreds of people queuing up outside Chase Bank ATMs just to hopefully be able to get in on this free money glitch. So basically, the entire way this exploit worked is you would have an account with Chase Bank. And then if you deposited a large check, you could then have the funds in said check to withdraw immediately. Obviously, on a check, you could lie about how much money you had. So you really could just walk in with a check and write 500 Gorillion Dogecoin, and then they'd believe it, it'd get put on the system. It wouldn't even check the validity of if you had that money, and you'd just be able to withdraw it. And this, as you could imagine, was absolutely terrifying for the rich people. I couldn't sleep for the past couple of nights. The poor people, having as much money as me, I worked hard to be a multimillionaire. I've spent the past 7 years in my bedroom talking smack online to people I'll never meet. That's serious business. I can't have the poors having as much money as me. Human ingenuity really has to be marked in the annals of history, because I've noticed, like, even myself streaming on YouTube, people will really do the most to avoid paying any kind of money. I mean, a good example, I did a video on this a couple of weeks ago. The whole system with YouTube, when people do super chat, they set up a VPN. They put themselves as some like uber poor country like Turkey or something where the currency is inflated more than one of my commissions. They could do that, have the message up the whole stream for the equivalent of like £2.50. But the bigger question is, how did Chase Bank make such an oopsie that they basically became their very own Robin Hood? Now, the funny thing is, a lot of people that heard about the Chase exploit, because this actually went viral on TikTok originally, they had no idea how the exploit actually worked. They thought if they just withdrew money, they'd suddenly get like $1 million or something. But obviously ATMs and stuff like that, they have like a daily withdrawal limit and stuff like that. I think in the UK, it's like a couple grand, and it's specifically to stop things like this happening, which I find really funny. They say that you can't withdraw X amount of money to like protect your account in case your card gets stolen. But in reality, it's if there's like game breaking bugs like this that make their way into the bank and they can't patch it out quick enough. So you then still have your money locked in and all the shareholders go, whew, okay, we're not game ending ourselves today. I mean, banks alone are absolutely terrifying. Like, it is the most like dystopian concept imaginable. I mean, a great example is if you've got loads and loads of money in a bank account. If a bank account in the UK, for example, goes, you know, belly up, it goes broke overnight, they legally, by law, only have to pay each person £20,000. And to be fair, overall, it is an insane amount of money. I know loads of people that don't have that in their account, but especially in the UK, 20 grand, that's not going to last you very long. Maybe a couple of years if you spread it out, but like rent, food costs, energy, the cost of everything going up. So again, like any exploit in a popular game, people want to know how you do it. I mean, I remember like playing GTA 5 as a kid, right? Because the game came out like over, I think 10 years ago. Jesus Christ, we're all so old. And I specifically remember seeing like hackers that would join mid-game and then they'd walk around and keep dropping like bags of money, and each bag of money was worth like $250,000. That's probably worth nothing now in GTA 5 online. I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't touched the game in like well over like 5, 6, 7 years, so I have no idea what the economy is now. Apparently there's like stocks and investing and like gambling and stuff. I mean, back when I played GTA 5 online, the most you could do is probably get a tank, go around shooting everyone, and then maybe steal a jet from the army base. That was it. It was actually pretty boring. That's like why I dropped it entirely. So some people online were giving genuine advice how to be able to get in on this exploit, and then other people were doing bits, hopefully, to get the rest of the people off their back so they could exploit more money. This is one thing I love about this exploit. It carries over to video game logic so much. People love that they have an exploit that they can use themselves, right? But then they're going to realize, oh, if I share this around too much, then they're going to patch it. So I'm only going to tell my friends. I'm not going to tell anyone else. But then obviously what always happens, a friend tells their friend, who tells their friend, who tells their friend. And then you're like 5 friends down the line, and the web, the network, the amount of people that know, it is enormous. It can't be stopped. I mean, a great example talking about YouTube was, do you remember years and years ago, PewDiePie? He was putting like hashtag satire in the tags of all of his videos because that would basically grant him immunity. That was something that Nerd City exposed years ago, and I think afterwards YouTube quickly patched that. But yeah, there were some videos talking about how to get like infinite money. One of them, like this was obviously a troll, was telling people to get a job at Chase Bank. But again, that's the scariest thing you're telling someone to do that wants free money. You're telling them to work. Step 1, apply for a Chase card in bank or apply online. Step 2, now you should have an account and routing number. Card should come in mail in a week or 2. Don't worry, we don't need that. Step 3, go on an Apple Store or Google Play, whatever that BS called, on Androids now. Download Indeed or search joblink.com in Safari. Step 4, make a fake resume. Tell them you landscape or that you whatever is a job profession you like. That one's aged. That one's aged like a fine wine. But yes, I'm a YouTuber. How could you tell? Step 5, apply to as many jobs you can. Step 6, when approved by the job, they will ask you to come on orientation. Some ask, some don't. Step 7, after a successful orientation, they will ask for a routing and account number. You insert your info in the blank. Step 8, get off your ass and go put some hours in. That's the step that you could tell it's a troll, by the way, like having to actually work for this. Step 9, check will drop weekly or every 2. Now, that is probably the worst, most troll exploit I've ever seen in my life, because, you know, if they like suddenly took on a new Chase Bank employee in a local branch, it's like, why is one employee being paid more weekly than the last amount of money we have brought into this bank in the past 10 years? That's quite strange. So to cut a long story short, this is check fraud. It is very basic check fraud. You know, originally looking into this, I thought it was an exploit where people were like, you know, stealing from ATMs and like, you know, withdrawing money, but it's not. They're filing in a fraudulent check saying that they have more money than their account actually has. Now, this is something that's been going on for such a long time. Apparently, it's got other official terms like check kiting. This will be, for example, where someone writes a check for, let's say, thousands of dollars, and then they want to put that check into their account. But obviously the check and the money are entirely fake. Like, no one is transferring that money because that money doesn't exist. This is the one thing I find really funny about checks. Like, if you watch like really old films, like early 2000 films and stuff like that, you'll see like a lot of people writing checks with signatures, and it's like no one really does that anymore because it's so hard to verify if it's real or not. So what they were doing with this exploit was essentially just writing a big check saying, hello, I have this amount of money. I would like to add this money into my account. And the whole can you prove that aspect was just non-existent because there was a bug in the system. And the reason why this scam is so dangerous because it basically requires you to stay one step ahead of the bank. And the bank likes keeping money. Now, even though loads and loads of people were seeing this insane amount of money that they'll never see in their life on their screen, you know, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, it wasn't actually there because it was in the account, sure, but they didn't actually withdraw it into tangible cash because, again, that problem I talked about earlier with doing it at ATMs and how ATMs usually have a daily limit to stop stuff like this happening. I mean, honestly, I would like to see a scenario where everyone withdraws money from the bank and then the economy collapses. Like, that would be hilarious. You know, could you imagine everyone on the poverty line withdrawing all that money and then actually being able to, you know, live and not worry about, like, you know, any kind of bills or the cost of living or anything like that just for, you know, at least a couple days? That'd be great. I mean, that wouldn't happen though, because usually what would happen is most of the kids in those families would end up spending all of the money on the Fortnite item store and the Nicki Minaj skin in Call of Duty. Could you imagine though, legit, like all these families and that use this exploit and they get, like, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars and 90% of their money is gone overnight because they were buying, like, you know, some skin from like the COD Warzone store. So like most people trying to get hired right now, digital footprint is a thing, and it's very scary. What you said in the boys group chat 6 years ago, yes, it will impact how you get that job. And these people at Chase Bank that were using this exploit, they were trying to use the exploit with their own bank accounts. So basically, anyone that took part in this glitch was self-reporting. And then on top of that as well, you had loads of people posting online, bragging about how much money they made. And again, that is like, you've got it tied to your personal account, and they've got you on the fact that you're bragging about it. One thing that is really scary about this is one punishment Chase Bank seems to be doing at the minute is if you withdrew X amount of money, you then have to pay it back. Your account is put into debt. So could you imagine if someone withdrew, like they wrote like a faulty check for like 1.2 billion pound or something, and then they have to pay it back? I mean, hopefully they don't have to pay it back in full because obviously, you know, the money was never there to begin with. It never exited the account. But I can imagine, though, that some people were actually able to pull this through an ATM. But again, ATMs do have like set limits, so you can't just withdraw like infinite amounts of money. I mean, a good example here is this one guy who ended up $40,000 in debt because he tried to do the exploit and he got caught.
Fuck, man. They really told me to tap in. Next day I was supposed to clear and look at my account, yo. Bro, what the...
There's also another guy as well who is negative $10,000 on his account because I assume he tried to withdraw that much and then Chase caught on and we're like, no. You give us that back now. And keep in mind as well, these like, you know, unlimited money, no hacks required exploits that you see everywhere from like GTA to Clash of Clans. These happen in the real world a lot more than you'd think. I mean, even last year, like going back to April 2023, there was actually another, you know, free money glitch with the biggest quotation marks imaginable. And that was regarding Cash App and Apple Pay. So with this bug, people could take $50 from their Cash App account, even if their account was empty, and put it into Apple Pay. So as you can imagine, people just did this repeatedly to generate like infinite money. Every transaction was $50. And again, the exact same thing happened that happened with Chase Bank. Apple and Cash App caught on and they punished people by putting them into debt. They had to pay back all the money that they basically stole. It even happened with DoorDash as well. We don't have DoorDash in the UK. I think the closest thing we've got is like Deliveroo or Uber Eats. It's basically just like a food delivery service. But the only difference being you have to tip people or you're made to feel bad because even though the employer doesn't pay them enough, it's apparently our fault. Okay, I know that sounded really salty and I'm sorry about that because I know a lot of people watching are American, but as a European, I don't understand the tipping culture in America. I really don't. I don't understand why we're made to feel bad for not giving you a tip. I mean, to be fair, like I'm not against tipping like in the UK, right? If we have like a server or something like that or someone that's really friendly or, you know, just nice to talk to, we always tip, right? We're giving like, you know, 20 quid or something. And then we make sure that they bag that themselves because we're not doing that gratuity. Believe me, the fact that pennies are being spread to like every employee, no. Like if you're nice to us, you will get a tip. And I think that's fair. But then in America, it's like, oh yeah, can you tip like, you know, 12.5% minimum going up to like 25%? And it's like, no, like the service wasn't that great. I think the thing is as well, like with tipping, I can't believe the multi-billionaire is doing like a tipping cope right now. But the point I'm trying to make is it's nicer when you tip someone and it doesn't feel like you have to, as opposed to American culture where it's like, it's the opposite. opposite. You have to tip, and if you don't, you're then made to feel bad. Because again, America has a huge problem where they don't pay their employees enough. So why should that fall onto the customer? That doesn't make any sense. That's so sleazy of companies to do that. But anyway, ran over. British person out of touch. So what was I talking about? Oh yeah, DoorDash. So there was an exploit as well with DoorDash where people would order copious amounts of food for like, you know, enough for one American.
I'm about to do the big smoke order.
And it would basically just come to like a few dollars or even a few cents. And of course, people who did that got charged for everything they bought.
So this was a DoorDash deal too good to be true. Last Thursday, a glitch allowed thousands of DoorDash customers to make lavish orders they didn't have to pay for.
How'd I miss that?
Right, same here. Some ordered thousands of dollars of top shelf tequila. Others received a lifetime supply of Plan B contraception.
Now that seemed to be like an actual exploit. I mean, to be fair, with like, you know, food delivery services, there's always exploits. I mean, in the UK, for example, what loads of people do on like Uber Eats is, this is a really common thing that is still going on, by the way, is like they'll order loads of food, right, to their house. And then they'll basically just lie to the people working there saying, oh, I never had the food delivered. They don't lie to like McDonald's. They'll lie to like Uber Eats and be like, the food was never sent. And I've always found that to be really scummy. I mean, like, you know, people that like bump trains and stuff like that, like don't pay, like that's different because it's like, you know, like sometimes it's just way too expensive where you need to go. I mean, I always pay to get on the train, but for me to go from like, you know, Birmingham down to London to get a flight, that is like upwards of £270 on some days for an hour and a half trip. That is more expensive than the flight business class. That is an actual joke. But yeah, people that lie and say that they didn't get their food in Uber Eats, I don't know, it just kind of rubs me the wrong way because someone's going to take the blame there. You know, if you say the food hasn't arrived, who's the company going to blame? They're going to blame the driver, and then it becomes like a he said, she said kind of thing. And usually what happens is they'll go through CCTV footage, they'll find out the driver is being honest. But by that point, the guy's probably already closed his account and then he's opened up a new one and changed the address to like 3 doors down or something. Now, again, if this is the first time you're hearing about the Chase Bank situation, which is crazy / insane, do not do it. You ending up in 40K worth of debt that's the good ending. The bad ending is you end up in probation or you get a year in prison. Now, surprisingly, I've tried to look up online and I actually cannot find a single example of someone being sued or arrested yet, mostly because I think that there's been so many people that have been doing it and they've only really patched the glitch as of like yesterday. But I mean, like, the best outcome for these people is like their accounts get frozen and then they're left with like years of crippling debt. There's a website called SQN Banking and it is basically just like the biggest jump scare website for anyone doing this Chase exploit, basically saying like, if you do this, your life is over. Incarceration. For misdemeanor fraud, perpetrators may face up to a year in a local jail, and felonies may result in several years in jail. I like how they tell this, by the way, like it's a YouTuber story time. One man received 20 years in federal prison for felony check fraud related to wiring $195,000 in bad checks to businesses in Sacramento County. But his sentence was increased due to prior convictions. In other cases, perpetrators can face even longer sentences. For instance, a former Vanguard employee stole over $2 million by writing checks from inactive or dead account holders. His charges include mail fraud, money laundering, and falsifying tax returns. And although his has not been sentenced at the time of writing, his prison sentence may be up to 46 years. In some cases, check fraud perpetrators are sentenced to probation. This may be on top of a jail sentence. Often, probation is used in lieu of a long jail sentence. For instance, when one man forged 2 $5,000 checks from his great-grandfather's account, he received a 45-day sentence in the county jail, followed by 13 months of probation. Now, that is terrifying to read, by the way, because that guy got probation, right? That guy got over a month in jail and then over a year in probation. And he only forged $10,000, $5,000 twice in faulty checks. People that I've seen on TikTok and like on Twitter and stuff, they've been doing this like $40,000. Like you're going to jail. Again, the logic you should always take behind exploits like this, just let the morons try it first, see what happens. If they don't patch it, okay, maybe I'll dip my toes in. But if not, usually, honestly, tale as old as time. If something is too good to be true, it probably is. And I cannot imagine with how much this planet sucks that there would be a way to infinitely print free money in a legitimate way. Well, that is, of course, unless you're like a multi-billionaire or a YouTuber that sits in front of their computer making videos all day. YouTubers, when they have to work, oh, what do you mean I gotta play video games 12 hours a day and watch other people's videos? I can't do it. I can't do it. It's too hard. But yeah, this is a tale as old as time. It will keep happening, guaranteed. If not this year, then early next year, we're gonna have another crazy banking situation.